Hi, welcome back to BRMC's Healthy Connections. I was asking Jody Owens from the Rappel Diabetes Learning Center today. I said, I'm feeling just a little bit sluggish this afternoon. Usually I'm, okay, here we go. And prior to this, I have a civic group I belong to, and we have our lunch. And today, I was explaining what I had for lunch, and Jody's remarks were that I've had too many carbs.
I sometimes, unfortunately, live in the carbohydrate world. Yeah. I think we have carbohydrate awareness sometimes.
I need that. I'm thinking, I did have some of the chips and salsa.
And, maybe some rice.
A little bit of rice.
Yeah.
And I think things were done up in a tortilla. We're not letting you know what kind of food we had here by any means.
Well, certainly, and it's so funny that you bring that out to light, because before I became a diabetes educator, nutrition and food wasn't that big of an issue. I always considered myself a pretty healthy eater until I realized that basically, without getting too far into the nutrition subject, the foods that we eat consist of some amount of carbohydrate. Everything that we eat, even the green vegetables and the good for you things. So that sometimes can be a little misleading, because folks come to the center and say, well, I'm eating healthy and I'm doing everything that I should be doing.
Sure.
What am I doing wrong? I'm still having trouble with my high blood sugars. And so sometimes it literally takes okay, let's really break it down and see what's being consumed, so we can see what your body's utilizing and what it's probably not utilizing. Yeah. And going back, we were talking a little while earlier about portion control, and most folks don't realize, but a half a cup on many of the grains and the rices and the more starchy foods like potatoes and things of that nature is considered a serving size. And when you get out a half a cup and you actually look at that, it's really not that much.
Oh, I know why I'm in trouble.
Half a cup, and we follow that rule. Doesn't mean that you can only have half a cup of a certain thing, but also you need to account for the fact that that is a basic serving size. Yeah. So, and we call that a healthy mix sometimes. We need to look at your healthy mix and just see how healthy it is. So it's quite you can really get quite down to a science with it if you want to. Yeah. And it's a little tricky sometimes.
Do bananas have a lot of sugar? Are they
Bananas fall into the group of a carbohydrate,
they are,
a heavy carb.
A heavy carb.
Because fruit is essentially made from sugar. And then essentially turns back into sugar inside of our body. So yes, fruit is one of those heavier carb groups.
Okay.
And obviously the grains, the cereals and the rices and the oatmeals and things of that nature, the pastas.
Yeah.
That falls into that group as well. The breads, white, wheat, rye, pumpernickel, any way you want to slice it, for obvious reasons. Yeah. Crackers.
I'm just laughing at well, okay, there goes. You've just described a good portion of my meal day.
Sure. And it's funny because in the diabetes world, that is what we focus primarily on. It's an easy thing to measure for a lot of folks, and it's an easy thing for someone who's going to start incorporating label reading, which is a very important part of nutrition. And I say label reading with a sort of a tongue-in-cheek, because it's not what's on the front of the package that we count as label reading. Sure. It's obviously on
but it says 95% fat-free.
Sure. And that back box with the nutrition facts is where they have to test. I call it the tell the truth box, because that is where the Food and Drug Administration comes in, and they actually have to claim all of the different components of that said item. So carbohydrates are an easy thing to account for in most everything, because it's listed right there in the black box, total carbohydrates.
Sure.
That includes all of the sugar that is in that product.
Okay.
So we always want to look for that total carbohydrate.
Yeah, that's the one I see. I'll see 95% fat-free and turn it over. And 16 grams of sugar.
A lot of times the sacrifice is there. If it's low sugar, then it's higher fat. If it's low fat, then it's higher sugar, vice versa. So. And then the fourth main category that we talk about a lot is dairy, actually, and that was one that I didn't realize was so high. And that's milk, cheese, yogurt, cottage cheese, those things. Not to say that the human body doesn't need those, and that's what we want to stress, is everybody gets very bent out of shape about carbohydrates a lot of times, but we do need those. They're our clean burning fuel, and Jan will tell you, everybody needs carbs.
Sure.
It's the amount of carbs per meal, and the amount of the other things that you incorporate with those carbs so that your body can actually utilize those carbohydrates.
Right.
And so, and I don't want to get too far into the nutrition aspect of it, because again, I tell my patients at the center that that's Jan's questions.
Yeah.
But that is, and that's why we utilize her so much, is because there are really just thousands and thousands of breakdowns of meal plans for folks.
Which is why it has to be so individualized, based on the person and their weight,
height and weight. Sure.
Their weight, their you probably, do you go into heredity?
We do. We talk about family dynamics. We talk about genetic links, mom, dad, brother, sister, grandparents with diabetes, and we link that. The science has linked that all along with that family trait and that heredity. But there's also some other risk factors that come into play. Being over 40 automatically puts you at risk, because as we mature, those processes, some of our metabolic processes start to slow down, and type 2 diabetes is a metabolic disease. Okay. And so, again, there you start talking about the different body dynamics and things going on inside of our bodies as we mature. So that definitely puts someone at risk. There are some other ethnic groups and cultural groups that are strongly linked with diabetes, and that's, off the top of my head, Native American, Pacific Islanders, African American, a lot of those descents, because of different cultural and socioeconomic things, and different dynamics of their day-to-day, passed down from generation to generation lifestyle, but also we see a strong genetic link in those groups.
Sure.
Another thing, and this is beating the dead horse, if you will, but the smoking. And a lot of people don't realize that nicotine is a vasodilator, or excuse me, a vasoconstrictor, I'm sorry. And that means that we actually narrow those blood vessels down and get them kind of small. And as you know, I use the example a lot of times, I'm from the country, so we take the 2-lane highway that our body has and turn it into one of those little country roads. Wow. And that can be a little bit more, as far as the highway and the byway of the body, constrictive to get those sugars around to where they need to go. So that can also lead to some implications of type 2 diabetes. And then the overweight factor. Yeah. And that's pretty much, a lot of folks really don't like to talk about being overweight, even though a lot of folks fall into that category, because it's not, it doesn't mean morbidly obese. It can be as little as 10 pounds. And I know a lot of times, especially this time of year, I carry around extra weight as well. And everybody's height and weight is different. Everybody's body mass index, which is a relative measure between that height and weight, is going to be a little bit different. Gender specifics. Jen says, I like this when she says, you fellas get a little more calorie because you're a little taller most of the time. So us ladies get a few less calories, and we're usually a little closer to the ground. So again, and we break those things down and those different dynamics down. But I strongly encourage anyone, as far as the signs and symptoms that we talked about earlier, but also if there are any genetic links. If you know of an immediate family member that has diabetes or had diabetes, that can be a main, red flag for you for your health. And if you're going to the doctor, for a yearly exam or for a 6-month exam, then the doctor is probably checking you. Most of the time, a glucose level is included.
I was just going to say, is there a specific blood test that, if genetically diabetes is part of the family history, that they should be asking their physician?
Just the basic glucose.
Just the basic glucose.
And that can be done several different ways. The most popular usually is the fasting, and that, of course, is first thing in the morning on an empty tummy. Yeah. There are also others. The random test can be done at any time of the day. There are some specifics there. And then the glucose tolerance, which is the lovely flavored sugar water.
Been through that once in my life many years ago.
And I giggle and say it's kind of like drinking hummingbird water, I would imagine, because it's very thick and it's very sweet. but the doctor's actually looking for that tolerance and what your body's going to do with that load of sugar.
Sure.
And it's just a simple way to do that. The fourth and coming onto the scene a little bit this past year in 2010 was the Hemoglobin A1c, and that is a measure of an exact sort of an average of a person's 3-month estimated blood sugars. And what they're able to do with that blood sample, just like taking when we take the 47 vials of blood that they always take, that it can utilize and look at some of those red blood cells that have come in contact with extra sugars inside your body and give that physician a little extra look into the last 3 months of your testing.
So they'll know better how to prescribe what you need as
Absolutely.
as an individual.
And a lot of times I'll tell folks that A1C will tell on you.
Yeah.
So it'll come up and tell on you for sure. And those are the different criteria, and I just encourage anyone that's having questions or having thoughts or that finds out that a loved one has been diagnosed to go out and get yourself, go to the physician, come by the center, whatever we can do to help.
Come by the Rappel Diabetes Learning Center, 9 to 4, Monday through Friday.
Absolutely.
There to answer your questions, offer information and help. And let's touch on, before we have to leave today, you started to mention during just before one of the breaks that people oftentimes feel guilty about the fact that they have diabetes because others are saying, you kind of brought this on yourself.
Right. It's very important to realize that with, obviously with our lifestyle changes in the last 20 plus years, and I like to say the thumb exercises that we all get now, or the finger exercises with the technological age that we're in. And so it's very encouraging to see some of the folks getting back out and doing the exercise and wanting to eat more nutritious and things of that nature. But just be mindful of that. And I always encourage my support people, not my patients that have been diagnosed, but their family that comes to the center with them, to be that support person for them. Sure. Don't be the, and dare I say it, the diabetes police. And
don't you eat that, that's bad for you.
We have that mindset as a society to try to help that. And I just want to encourage everyone that has diabetes or has been diagnosed, and your support people, that we are having our annual program coming up, and it's going to be a great day to kind of let some of those frustrations out maybe, and maybe get your diabetes police person in and show them just exactly what you're going through. And that's coming up in March.
Okay.
We're going to have that March 23rd here at the Baxter County Fairgrounds, and it's an all-day event. This is our 10th annual yearly educational program, and it's absolutely free to the public. We're going to start about 8 o'clock that morning, and it's on a Wednesday. Probably going to run till about 3 p.m. And so we'll have lunch and breakfast, a lot of entertainment. I'm not going to give away our special guests just yet, but last year I heard that Elvis was in the building, so who knows this year. But it's a lot of fun, and it's a lot of way to bring in that support person, or on the flip side, for that support person that's concerned about their loved one with diabetes that maybe isn't making the best choices, to bring them in and have a casual day of just enjoyment and laughter and games and prizes, so that it's just a little less of an in-your-face type of a program. So
wonderful. Jody, one more time, let them know the date for that and how they can reach you by phone.
Sure. It is going to be coming up in March, on March 23rd. And that will be from 8 to 3. We're taking our reservations now, and you can reach us at 508-1765. All we need is your name and your phone number.
Jody, thanks for joining us today. As always, you're a delightful guest. Thank you so much for being here and helping educate everyone about diabetes.
Absolutely. Thank you, Donna.
You're welcome.